This book is called A Guest is a Guest by John Himmelman. John Himmelman dedicates this book by saying he wrote it for Mom and Dad Shanahan. Farmer Bean Buckets, his wife, and their son, Billy, lived on a farm. The Bean Buckets were very, very kind people, and they always treated their animals like part of the family. Billy was especially fond of a clever little piglet named Oliver. The two of them played together every day. But every night, Billy and Oliver had to go their separate ways. One evening, Billy asked if it would be all right to have a friend spend the night. "If it's okay with his mother," said Mrs. Bean Buckets. Billy went out to the pig pen to get his friend Oliver. All the other pigs were asleep, so he quietly snuck the piglet away and took him up to his room. Later that night, Oliver's mother noticed that her baby was gone. She woke the other pigs, and they all called for the missing piglet. The noise woke Oliver. He went down to the back door to see what all the racket was about. The pigs were very happy to see that Oliver was safe. Together, they all snuck up to Billy's room. In the morning, the Bean Buckets came down to a kitchen full of hungry pigs. "What should we do?" Mrs. Bean Buckets asked. A guest is a guest, and we must show them our best," said Farmer Bean Buckets. Later that day, the rooster saw a strange sight in the farmhouse. He sent in one of his bravest hens to investigate. When the hen didn't return, he gathered all the chickens together, and they entered the house. They found her on a big, fluffy pillow. It was the softest nest she had ever sat on, and she wasn't about to leave it. Soon, there was a hen on every pillow. "What should we do?" Mrs. Bean Buckets asked. "A guest is guest, and we must show them our best," said Farmer Bean Buckets. In the evening, the Bean Buckets sat down to watch their favorite Western. The pigs and chickens were making so much noise that Farmer Bean Buckets had to turn the volume way up. The sound of the TV Western brought the horses and cows stampeding into the room. They stopped in front of the TV and stared. "More guests?" asked Billy. "Afraid so," said Farmer Bean Buckets. In the morning, there was a knock at the door. I guess they were wondering where everyone went," said Billy. Now the house was filled with animals. They took over the TV. They ate all the good stuff out of the refrigerator. The morning paper was always a mess. And worst of all, there was always a line for the bathroom. Finally, Farmer Bean Buckets cried out, "A guest is a guest, and we must show them our best. But when enough is enough, you have to get tough." So the animals threw the Bean Buckets out. Then Billy had an idea. He called Oliver outside to the pig pen. The two of them began to roll and play in the mud. When Oliver's mother saw them out there, she led the pigs out of the house and into the pen, where they could keep a better eye on the piglet. This gave Farmer Bean Buckets an idea. He jumped onto a perch in the chicken coop. "Cock-a-doodle-doodly-doo," he crowed. The rooster didn't like someone else doing his job, and he led the chickens out to the coop. Mrs. Bean Buckets caught on to what was happening, and she rolled the TV into the stable. The horses and cows followed right behind her. The ducks were a little more difficult to get out, but moving the tub and shower to the yard did the trick. The Bean Buckets ran back into the house and locked the door behind them. Oh, the house was a mess. And after a full day of cleaning, they were exhausted. A guest is a guest. And now it's time for some rest, said Farmer Bean Buckets. And one by one, the whole Bean Buckets family fell asleep. The end. And if you'd like to learn more about John Himmelman, the artist, do a search for this phrase and you'll get to his website. A book where a horse and a pig are eating popcorn and a piglet is drinking a can of soda pop on the couch. A Guest is a Guest by John Himmelman.